Hello and welcome to Mourningstar Studios. I'm John and this is my list of the top 10 games that I've ever played. Now, as you may know from the other videos in this series, this is a part of a series of contributors of our channel. We each have our own list, and at the end of it all, we're going to get together and talk about them in a sort of roundtable discussion. But until then, let's take a look at what's on my list. Now, I want to mention, before I get into the actual list itself, what kind of consoles I've played, so you know what kind of gamer I am. I started off with a PlayStation, like a standard PlayStation 1. I also got a PlayStation 2 before moving on to an Xbox 360. I'm also a PC gamer, and I've dealt with Game Boy Advance, but that really doesn't factor into this list at all. I hadn't played many games for it. But with that in mind, let's get on with the list. In the number 10 position, we have Skate 3. Now, I'm a big fan of skateboarding games. I've always been as a kid, especially with the Tony Hawk franchise, but Skate 3 seemed to have went above and beyond, in my opinion. It basically took up the entirety of a summer for me, as just me and my friends would just constantly be playing it, doing all the stuff in game, building parks. That's the big reason why it's on here. I love its park editor. I'm a big fan of creation games, and the idea of crafting a skate park with limitless possibilities, it was something that really made the game. Now, I mean, this isn't a game that's constantly heralded, but definitely a great game in my books, the 10th best game on my list. Number 9 on my list is The Sims 2. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Sims series, and I have tons of Sims games. In fact, I have almost all of the expansion packs for The Sims 2, just to show you how much time and effort I put into the game. But the idea of it being kind of a dual game, you can do two different things in it. You can build houses and make it be like an architectural simulator, and you can also have like a family and try and make them survive, or as a lot of people did, they just killed their Sims in various gratuitous ways. I was not that kind of player, but The Sims 2 definitely had a huge impact on my childhood, and the only reason The Sims 3 is not on here is that The Sims 3 was just way too buggy for my taste. I mean, I've had so many save files ruined in The Sims 3. Maybe there's a patch for it, I'm not sure. But The Sims 2 is definitely something that will stay with me for a while. Number 8 is LA Noire, and I really liked this entry as it was a different entry to a Rockstar game. Like, when you think Rockstar, you usually think of the obvious of Grand Theft Auto, your murder death simulator full of highly sexualization and massive amounts of gratuitous violence. But LA Noire managed to take a time period I really like, which is the 40s and that film noir sense of things, and put it into a really compelling story. Now, it had a troubled production, and certain aspects of it aren't as interesting as Grand Theft Auto, like its ability to drive around. I mean, I prefer driving in the Grand Theft Auto series better to this game. But the story itself, the time period, the setting, and just the mystery, the solving the mystery, the lying mechanic, the face mechanics with it, it was very ahead of its time, and definitely a game I enjoyed playing. Number 7 is Shadow of the Colossus. Now, I didn't get too far into the Shadow of the Colossus because I'm god-awful at video games. But of what I've played so far, Shadow of the Colossus is just amazing. I mean, it is a game where the bosses are the levels. It's such a unique concept. It's a visually significant game. I played the PlayStation 2 version, which isn't the HD remake. But even still, with it not being HD, it's a pleasure to look at. I mean, just the vastness of the map. The designs of the bosses are very unique, and of course, the running animation. My god, I love that running animation. It's the most hilarious running animation I've ever seen. Not to have a discredit to the game, but I mean, that just provided like about half an hour of laughter. But if I can beat the next boss in Shadow of the Colossus, which it's been a while since I picked it up, I forget who I'm on, I would definitely want to continue playing this game to completion. It's definitely a game I would suggest. Number 6 we have Trackmania Nations. Now, I factored in free games as well, because this is the best games I've ever played, not just the best games I've ever paid for to play. But Trackmania Nations is a free arcade racer, which is one of my most heavily played games. I mean, it is really good in terms of controls. I mean, I can use a keyboard with it. It's for PC. And I can still turn as if like I have a controller. And with a controller, it's even better. So, excellent controls, and it has a track creator. So you can create your own track, so limitless possibilities in this game. And it's a free game. I mean, there are pay Trackmanias, which are also really good. But this is a free game, and you get so much content. You get car customization, you get track customization, you get over 100 challenges that are already pre-made, plus you can go online with it. And the only cripple for online is that every 5th race you have to set out, which is a small price to pay considering the large amounts of content that it provides. And that's the key word here, content. I'm not a huge fan of arcade racers normally, but Trackmania Nations definitely takes the cake. Number 5 is The Binding of Isaac. The Binding of Isaac is a special game. It is a roguelike, Zelda-esque dungeon crawler where you play as Isaac, a small child that is going to be sacrificed to God by his mother, and attempt to just survive in this basement. And the replay value is astonishing. It's such an addicting game. You could play it endlessly because no two playthroughs will be the same. And you just have this endless source of joy. I know it's kind of an odd thing to say there, endless source of joy, but it's kind of hard to put in the words just how great this game is. You could be anywhere, just with your laptop, or just have a couple of minutes of free time. Just start it up and play a little bit of it, because at the very most you'll last about 45 minutes, at the very least, which will most likely happen, since it's a very difficult game. It'll last maybe like 5 or 10. And you'll just have a good gaming experience. And I definitely recommend it because for $5, you get so much gameplay. I've poured maybe about 100 hours into this game. So definitely I recommend this game. 4 is The Stanley Parable. Now, The Stanley Parable is kind of an oddball on this list, as some may question whether it is actually a game. But for me, I consider it a game because you have a goal, which is either to get all the endings or to get the ending where Stanley, lives and goes on to have a fruitful life. And that there's a lose situation where, you can die in this game. It's possible. There's also negative endings as well. But The Stanley Parable is such a smart game, such a funny game. It is a game that it's more than a game, it's an experience. Like, I don't even want to give too much away, like most reviewers have said, because it's a game you should definitely play on your own. I feel it's much worth the price for it, which isn't that bad. I think it's about $12, $15, somewhere around there. But for just the sheer brilliance of this game, when it was just a Half-Life 2 mod, I heard about it and I was like intrigued, and when I heard they were coming out with an actual game, I picked it up right away. Also, I recommend the demo, which has nothing to do with the game itself, but is equally as entertaining. Number 3 is Portal 2. Now, I didn't actually physically play Portal 1, but I've seen it be played. So, Portal 2, I knew about the series going into it, and I was playing it. It's just, again, one of the most interesting mechanics I've ever seen. The idea of portal physics, and it's just so complex, and when you solve a puzzle, you feel so great about yourself, because it is a puzzle that you really had to think about, and you really had to try. You had to put a lot of effort into solving it, and nothing is really handed to you. Also, it's incredibly hilarious. The voice acting is great, as always. And just the environment of it. It took the clean testing environment of the first one and decayed it. It was a really interesting thing to see. Like, you see the setting of the first game, but just heavily aged. The facilities falling apart. You're doing puzzles outside of the test course and on the catwalks and trying to escape GLaDOS once again. So I really enjoyed Portal 2. I actually did beat it all the way through, so I was proud of myself and my gaming achievement there. But yeah, Portal 2, an excellent game. Number 2 would be Minecraft, and I have to mention Minecraft because I play Minecraft just about every single day. I mean, what else is there to say? It's an addicting game, endless possibility. As a person who loves creation games, it's basically heaven. It's playing with Legos. I mean, virtual Legos, essentially. And Legos are already the dopest of all of the building blocks. And they take that and make it into a game that has just endless possibilities. You can do adventure maps. You can get your friends together and have like a PvP match. You can invent other games. You can make a city. You can do what this channel does and just have a server with an economy and an actual city with elected officials. It's basically open to your imagination, and it's such a great game, and anyone can enjoy this of any age. Like, you see 3-year-olds playing it, and you also see adults playing it. It's a game that just spans the barriers, and it would be number 1 if it wasn't for the actual games number 1 that really spoke to me. But before we get to that, let's talk quickly about some of the runner-up games, or honorable mentions. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. I was never a Nintendo kid. I never owned a Nintendo. I did play Wind Waker a little bit, and it was great from what I played, but the issue is I did not get very far in it, so I don't really know too much about the rest of the game. It would probably be much higher, considering the praise I hear about it, but from what I've played, I will at least give it an honorable mention. The Simpsons Hit and Run, though it's a Grand Theft Auto clone, it's pretty obvious, and some of the missions are a little repetitive. It's a heavy nostalgia value for me, as 1, I'm a huge Simpsons fan, and 2, it was also the first game I beat 100%. I still enjoy playing it to this day. It's still a very funny game, and I'm actually currently in the process of trying to rebeat it right now, so definitely a huge impact on me. I want to mention the entirety of the Tony Hawk series, as they were a huge inspiration to me as a kid in terms of music, but also I just enjoy the gameplay of them. They were really fun. I especially like the Underground and American Wasteland games to add more of a story to it. Especially Underground 2, because it was just absolutely loopy. It was Jackass meets Tony Hawk arcade game. It was great. No One Has to Die is a free game where you play a person that walked into this company that's currently burning to the ground. You have to try and choose which people live by solving a small puzzle. It's a really ingenious game, and the story's really good. I mean, I'm not going to say too much about it. I suggest you play it. It's free, and it's well worth the half hour. The only reason it's not on the list is that the puzzles are just way too easy, in my opinion. Though, who knows, maybe they're a little harder for someone else. I mean, for me personally, they were a little easy. And the last honorable mention was Save the Date. Dating sims usually get a bad rap, and I am not a big fan of dating sims, but this game is the best dating sim ever made, because it's not some, like, anime, agoo, kawaii, or hentai type deal. It's a game, you don't see the actual date you're doing, and the goal of it is not to have a successful date in terms of love, but in that you need to make your date survive. And it also, similar to No One Has to Die, it's a relatively deep concept to it if you keep playing through it. I'm not going to give anything away with it, but we also did a video on it for this channel, so I suggest you check it out. The only reason it's not on this list is that it just has a lack of visuals, and compared to Skate 3, which was number 10, I played Skate 3 way too much. Lastly, number 1, the best game that I personally have ever played is Red Dead Redemption. Now, you may notice that the Grand Theft Auto series did not make it on this list. Though I do like derping around in the game, in terms of story, it just didn't appeal to me as much as Red Dead Redemption did. It made me love the Western. I mean, I was not a big Western fan before playing this game, but it just portrayed the era so well. The characters were just so unique, so great. The missions were great. The side quests were great. The DLC is one of the best DLCs I've ever played, and that was Undead Nightmare. If we had a list of best DLC, that would be number 1. Red Dead Redemption is such a great sandbox. It's visually stunning. I mean, though graphics have improved since then, it's still, to me, graphically impressive. Mission impressive, character impressive, story impressive. Like, so much was poured into this game, and it's near perfect to me. I can't think of too much wrong with it. Just every mission I went through, all the different side things, the treasure hunting missions, especially the side quest of the man in the hat. I mean, that's one of the best side missions ever. I mean, it just has so much of the best of in terms of gameplay mechanics and just its story and everything that there's no way I could not put this in number 1, despite Minecraft being one of my most beloved games. So, there you have it. Red Dead Redemption is number 1 on my list. Thank you for watching. Remember, this list was my personal opinion. If there was a game you liked that wasn't on this list, it may be on another list, or I may not have played it. Thank you for watching. Please comment and subscribe if you want to see more videos, and be sure to check out the rest of the videos in this series. Until then, I'll see you later. Unmute your mics. 3.
Okay.
Hold on.
Come on, time is money.